Hi, Righteous MGTOW here, and this is the statistical breakdown of infidelity. All of the following statistical information is brought to you by the Associated Press Journal of Marital and Family Therapy. 41% of married couples admit to some form of infidelity. 54% of women admit to committing infidelity in their past. Let me read that again. 54% of women admit to committing infidelity in their past. 68% of women say they would have an affair if they knew they would never get caught. The average length of a marital affair is 2 years. 3% of children are the product of infidelity. 35% of women admit to infidelity on their business trips. Where is my source of information coming from? Allow me to tell you. The Associated Press Journal of Marital and Family Therapy has gathered this information. Now, some of you might be wondering, gee, why would you, instead of sharing your personal experience for why you are MGTOW, why would you bother about statistics involving infidelity or anything else that would lead someone to become MGTOW? Well, allow me to explain to you why I would do that. I watch MGTOW videos, but I do something more than watch MGTOW videos. You know what else I do when I watch a MGTOW video? I read the comment section of a MGTOW video. And do you know what I notice from those MGTOW videos of the people who leave negative comments about MGTOW? The most common negative MGTOW comment out there is, and always has been, well, you're personally damaged. See, you are apparently some anomaly that got hurt by a woman, and that never happens, apparently. And so you're personally jaded, and that's the reason for why you're MGTOW, and that there's something wrong with you. When in reality, having a personal reason for being MGTOW is completely acceptable. And there's nothing wrong with having a personal reason or a bad relationship in your past that made you MGTOW. That's one of the many ways you become MGTOW. But some people wonder, gee, why would you make a statistics video? Why would you rely on a source? A well-known, well-trusted source? Because when I did this, when I just read you these statistics about infidelity, this wasn't my personal statistics on infidelity that happened against me. No, this is around the entire country of the United States of America. This is all men in America who are suffering. Who are suffering. That is the fact of the matter. That is what's going on in this country. So in reality, this isn't some jaded man coming up to you and telling you, hey, you should avoid women are no good because I had some personal experience that is extremely rare. When in reality, this video, this MGTOW video in particular, is actually being made with an actual well-trusted and known source. And for the sake of argument, I'm going to read this all again. All of the following statistical information is brought to you by the Associated Press Journal of Marital and Family Therapy. 41% of married couples admit to some form of infidelity. 54% of women admit to committing infidelity in their past. 68% of women say they would have an affair if they knew they would never get caught. The average length of an affair is 2 years. 3% of children are the product of infidelity. 35% of women admit to infidelity on their business trips. Let me give you my personal opinion on the fact that 35% of women admit to infidelity on their business trips. Let me give you my personal opinion on that. Whenever you see a woman going to college and trying to get a job, men always, no matter who they are, you can be the most liberal man in the world and you can be the most conservative man in the world. If you see your woman, your wife, going to college and trying to get a job for no reason when your money is more than sufficient and she's trying to get to college and she's trying to do all that, well, take note of the fact that 35% of women are doing it solely for the purpose of hypergamy. That is right, 35% of women admit to infidelity on their business trips. What does that mean? It means that when they go to college, it's for the purpose of getting some sort of a job so they can meet someone who is richer than their husband so that they can take the remaining wealth from their husband and then add that to the wealth to which is more than the past husband of that woman. That is known as hypergamy. More known as, or AKA, gold digging. Damn near 40% of women do this, according to the Associated Press. And you have to wonder if the Associated Press, with these statistics, is downplaying the real statistics. Are these just the most conservative numbers that they can pile up? Maybe so. Maybe the real numbers are much more liberal and higher. Let's break down the statistic of 54% of women admit to committing infidelity in their past. What does that mean? That 5 to 6 out of 10 women that you walk past on the street, that you sit next to in class, that you drive by on the road, that you are surrounded by at work, admit to performing some form of infidelity in their past against men. Now, where do men meet women? We meet women in college. We meet them in the workforce. We meet them when we go to the local coffee shop to get our coffee right before we go to work. Let me tell you this right now. Know that wherever you are, according to the statistic, more than half of women admit to performing some form of infidelity in their past. And also remember the fact that you don't get to know who that half was that performed infidelity. Now, all I'm saying is when it comes down to that particular statistic, would you go to a restaurant and eat anything on the menu knowing that there's a 54% chance of whatever you order to eat from a restaurant will give you food poisoning? The answer is no. But yet, men will not take that logic and apply that to marriage or relationships concerning women. One has to know. One has to know how that is okay. And in reality, and the answer to that is, it is not okay. Let's take another statistic from the Associated Press Journal of Marital and Family Therapy. 68% of women say they would have an affair if they knew they would never get caught. So that means 7 out of 10 women, damn near 7 out of 10 women that you walk by on the street would hurt your feelings, would betray you, would be a traitor to you, would allow a homewrecker to destroy everything you have built, would perform infidelity, adultery against you. 7 out of 10 women would perform adultery against you and your baby boy or whatever children you have if they thought they would never get caught. And why would a woman think she would never get caught? Why would a woman believe that she would never get caught performing infidelity? Well, it's very easy. A man will wake up around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. He leaves the house at around 7 so he can be at work at 9. And though his job ends at 5, he's not in reality going to come home until 6:30, 7 o'clock, giving his wife plenty of chances and time to cheat on her husband. Some of you might be asking, well, what about the children? Well, the children are also in school for 8 hours a day. So what exactly is a man to do that, according to the Associated Press Journal of Marital and Family Therapy, the average length of an affair is 2 years? So a man could go years before ever figuring this out, and could very well be one of the 3% of men who father children who are the product of infidelity. And in my honest personal opinion, I do believe that number is much higher. All of the information in this video was brought to you by the Associated Press Journal of Marital and Family Therapy. And all I have to say is that not only do I have raw research that made me into a MGTOW, but before I did any research into becoming a MGTOW, I had my own personal experience as to why I decided to become a MGTOW. And in reality, my MGTOW brethren, I seek to attack and to address the MGTOW detractors, who seek to tell me that people like me and you are simply an anomaly, a minority of men who have been hurt by a woman, and thus, as a result of being such a minority, are not to be listened to. Well, my answer to that is this Associated Press report on marital and family therapy as to explain to me, detractors of MGTOW, is 68% of women saying they would have an affair if they knew they could never get caught? Is that a minority of women? And if that is not a minority of women, it is certainly a majority of women that admit that they would have an affair if they thought they could get away with it, and that if a man works for 8 hours a day and a child goes to school for 8 hours a day, how could they not get away with it? When the average length of an affair is 2 years, when you actually think about this, the reality, men, MGTOW, and MGTOW detractors, is that we are not a minority of men. We are MGTOW. And that MGTOW formed because the majority of men have been victimized by women. And to use our personal experiences against us as a reason to delegitimize the reasons for why we are MGTOW is disgraceful by MGTOW detractors. And that is the reason why I decided to do some research and to read it out for all of them to hear. Because no, I'm not going to give you a personal experience just to read in the comments section of this video later on that it's my personal experience.